It's a love letter to New York City, where I've lived for almost 20 years. It's also a bit of a reflection of my experience of being in New York during the COVID pandemic. It's a film about art and movies and grief and loss and loneliness and the ways that we connect to each other to get through all of that. So I look forward to hearing what you think after the movie. I'm here to answer all your questions. I'll tell you also that it's a film that will ask for your patience. You might be uncomfortable sometimes watching it. It's okay to laugh, it's okay to feel emotional. It will ask also for your openness and curiosity, and I promise that if you bring it those things, you will be surprised along the way. Thank you again for being here. Thank you so much to Hot Docs for having me. I'm really grateful, and see you after the film. All night filming as the results came in, and so I was extra tired, sad, lost, and I was filming in New Jersey, in Atlantic City, and waiting for my ride to go back to New York, where I'd lived for 20 years, and I was just staring into space, and I just saw a sign in the distance that said $5 psychic reading. And without even thinking, I walked in. And I pulled back this curtain. There was a table and 2 chairs, and no one was there. And I sat down at the table, and I immediately had the experience of feeling like I was looking in a mirror at my own emotional state at that moment. And it felt incredibly clarifying just to sit down at that table. And I kept thinking, this is crazy. No one's even here. Why am I feeling so emotional? So that told me something about the experience of getting a psychic reading. But then the psychic came in, and she gave me a 5-minute, a very gentle, comforting reading. I gave her $5, and as I was getting ready to go, she said, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, "Oh, I'm a documentary filmmaker." She said, "What do you make movies about?" And at that time, I was finishing this film that was at Hot Docs called The Departure. And I said, "Well, I'm finishing this movie about a Zen priest who counsels people who are suicidal, but he absorbs all their pain like a sponge and is very self-destructive himself." And the psychic said, "That sounds like my life." And I was like, "What?" And she said, "Yeah, you wouldn't believe the situations people come in here with. They come in at these major crossroads in their lives." And that was like a light bulb moment for me. I thought, I had no idea. I hadn't taken the idea of a psychic seriously before. But then I thought, what if there could be a film set entirely in these sessions where you get to see this wash of humanity coming through and hear the questions that they ask and why and witness that. And so that's when I first had the idea. And then I literally got a call from Netflix that said, "Would you be interested in making a documentary about Taylor Swift?" And so then I paused my life, packed a suitcase, didn't know when I was coming home, and I made that film. And then I moved back to my home right before the lockdown started, the COVID lockdown. And it was about 2 or 3 months into the lockdown that I thought, now's the moment to make this psychics movie I've been thinking about, because now we're literally more isolated than ever, lonelier than ever, less certain about the future than ever, but also finding extra value in human connection and the preciousness of being together like never before. And so that's when I started to make the film. And then as I started to get to know the psychics, I couldn't believe they were mostly former actors. I found that very interesting. But then also the fact that they had these personal experiences that were so formative with loss and grief, and that once you started to learn about who the psychics were, it changes the way you see the sessions. And so then I became obsessed with layering in that through the film. But then as I started to spend more time with the psychics outside of sessions, I was asking them questions and talking to them, and at a certain point I thought, did I just ask them a question that they asked someone in a session? I became very aware of that parallel relationship. I'm also an unlicensed therapist, kind of going rogue in ways that I hope is ethical. It sometimes feels like it's a little dangerous, but I try to bring as much compassion and care as possible to it. But I did start to notice that parallel. And then this led me to begin reflecting on, why are the psychics agreeing to be in this documentary? And in fact, why does any documentary subject agree to be in a film? It's never easy to be a documentary subject. It's intrusive and difficult, and you're opening yourself up for a bunch of strangers. And it did occur to me that, well, there is something so powerful in being witnessed by a complete stranger, and not just watched, because I made these films, and I'm so glad I made these films before I made The Psychic Look Into My Eyes, films about Taylor Swift and Brooke Shields, who both people who many people have looked at and watched and judge and continue to judge. But that's very different than really witnessing someone. And I think that the reason they wanted me to make documentaries about them, and I think the reason that the psychics were game for this, was because we all learn better who we are by having another person witness us. And I'm, as a filmmaker, holding up a mirror to someone and showing what I see there. And I don't think that's that different than something that might bring a client into a psychic reading. This curiosity. This person doesn't know me. What will they see? Will they have a fresh perspective, a way of seeing me that actually is more true than the people who are close to me? I think that can really happen as well. And so the idea of the final moment of the film when Eugene, the singing psychic, looks into the camera, is really to acknowledge that directly and say, you're the only one who knows. This line from the Billy Joel song that he's singing, referring to you, the audience, saying also, I'm in on it. The director is in on it. This whole film that you just saw, this whole documentary, was constructed. It's artificial, but the emotional experience you had was real. And that's how I feel about psychic sessions. You know, you could say they're artificial, they're fake. I think people can have many different beliefs about what is real and what is not real about a psychic session, but my experience is that something artificial can also be real. It's like going to see a play where the characters are fake and it's a narrative fiction play, but you think, wow, the emotions I just felt are more vivid than the emotions I felt in my real life. Here in Toronto that I just learned about, and it's called No Arms in the Arts. And it's a group of writers and artists and filmmakers who are hoping that all of the arts organizations that are sponsored by Scotiabank, including Hot Docs, will tell Scotiabank that they don't want to take their sponsorship money unless they pull their investment in Elbit Industries, which is a large weapons manufacturer. Elbit Industries creates most of the weapons that have killed Palestinian civilians in Gaza, and they also built the bombs that killed the 7 World Central Kitchen workers a few weeks ago. It's really because I love Hot Docs so much, and because this festival means so much, not only to Canadian filmmakers and American filmmakers like me, but to filmmakers all over the world, that I want to join all the artists who are asking Hot Docs to ask Scotiabank, divest from Elbit Industries. We don't want to take any sponsorship money from companies that profit from the taking of human life. So if you feel the same way that I do, and I respect that there are many different opinions on this, but if you feel the way that I do, I want to encourage you to reach out to Hot Docs, to Scotiabank, make a letter, write a letter, make a call, tell them that you support No Arms in the Arts. Thank you for hearing me out on that. I'll close by sharing a short poem with you, written by a poet named Rafat Al-Arir, who was killed in Gaza in December. Rafat wrote this poem for his daughter, Shaima, who was killed in Gaza yesterday. She was 25 years old, and she died with her 2-month-old baby son, so I want to share this poem in both of their memories. If I Must Die, by Rafat Al-Arir. If I must die, you must live to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings, make it white with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a blaze and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope, let it be a tale. Thank you for letting me share that with you. Thank you for letting me share that. Thank you all.